Welcome. It's Alicia Stringer here, and I'm so excited to have these two powerhouse men that really make a difference in the community. And Jose Marillo and Will Anderson. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to learn more about what they do to make a difference in this community. So tell me, Jose, a lot of dog owners choose a lot of places to board their dogs. And tell me what you do and what you offer to help make Camp Bow Wow stand out.
Yeah, well, thanks. At Camp Bow Wow, we are a premier overnight boarding and daycare facility for dogs. Um, Basically, whenever a parent goes off on that well-deserved vacation, we want to be the place that they choose for a safe place for their dog to stay. We also offer grooming services as well. Uh, and we do have three locations. We have one in the Katy, Texas area, Kemah, and Cypress locations.
Perfect. Well, how about you? What do you offer with dog training, and how'd you get connected
Yeah.
with Jose?
Yeah. So with the dog training and stuff, what we go through with Canine Initiative training is we focus heavily on education. So not just with education where I go into dog related businesses. So grooming salons, boarding facilities, vets, as well as rescues and shelters, and educate on canine psychology and body language, but also going through and helping the individual pet that is overcoming fears or working through aggression or, just standard obedience when you go into the foundation of obedience. So working with individuals on that end too in their homes and outside. So, and I met Jose through a wonderful networking organization called BNI. So, phenomenal individual for going through networking and the things that he does in the community and for those in the dog world, with rescues and shelters is absolutely tremendous. So,
Oh, that's perfect. Why do you guys two work together, not only help both of your businesses, but your clients as well?
Well, I one of the things that at Camp Bow Wow, a lot of people when they first come into us, they have to go through what's called we call it our interview process, a temperament test. And you know what? Not every dog passes that interview process. And no dog parent wants to hear that, that their dog didn't pass, so they can't come into Camp Bow Wow. So we like to be able to offer them options. Because, here's the thing. Owning a dog is not just a privilege. It's a responsibility. It really is.
yeah.
So our job is to make sure, okay, so what options can we give these parents so that we can make this dog okay to come to Camp Bow Wow or to just be social in general. And that's where Will and his team comes into play. I met Will, few years back, and the type of training that they do in their organization and the way that I guess their philosophy behind the way what they do is something that we tie in with very closely. So that's why I just appreciate having Will in the community so that we can send these parents in that direction so that they can get these dogs trained properly.
Perfect. So with Will, when you go to Camp Bow Wow and see the difference, what kind of experience or what is the setup process that you do, since you just had a puppy that didn't pass or something, or a pet that didn't pass? What can the parents or the dog owners and stuff expect when they meet you, because they're like all bummed, and they can't be a part of Camp Bow Wow, and here's the different option, and now what's the next step can people expect to see with you?
Yeah. Yeah. And so the big thing with that too is just because they didn't go through and pass it the first time doesn't mean they can't get their dog to the point where they can pass it. That's one of the big things. I look at it as, when training in itself is just consistent communication and teaching. It's just like going through and teaching a child how to be able to play the piano. That's training, right? It's also teaching. When you're working with dogs, we're going through and trying to teach them how to be able to go through and act in a social setting, as well as how to act in all settings. So with that, when we're going through in training, we educate a lot on the canine psychology. So we dive into a little bit more of how dogs learn and how they process information. So that way we have the ability to communicate better with them. Because as people, we primarily speak, at least in Texas, either English or Spanish. And with that, our dogs did not take either one of those classes pre-birth. So we've got to go through and learn how to be able to communicate with them so that they can go through and understand what we're asking out of them, and therefore go through and perform and behave better. And with that, consistency is key, as well as repetition. So we go through all of that. We kind of set up and customize the training itself to the individual dog based off the goals and the needs of the owner.
Oh, perfect. So
Will, I got a quick question. Will, would you say it's fair to say there's a big difference between, I guess it's more than just teaching a dog to sit and stay. It's a little bit more than just that.
Yeah. So think about it like a child. If you were to go through and teach a child addition and subtraction and say, you know what, we're good there. All right. So understand, one of the biggest things that dogs need to learn is they need to learn impulse control, right? Kind of like teaching kids. You can go in and out of the candy store, but you can't start grabbing everything off the shelves and start eating it just because it's there. Right. And with that, that's one of the things that a lot of pet parents, they haven't taught their dog yet. Because as a pet parent, we want to just love our dog. We want to, as you think of the word spoil our dog, right? The reality is to spoil means to go rotten. And we don't want a rotten dog. We just want to shower our dogs with love. Right. So a good parent, parental role is to go through and treat our dogs more like children and less like grandchildren. So treat them like children and say, hey, I'm going to give you this, but I'm going to have you work for it. I'm going to have you learn something, learn how to behave, and then I'm going to reward you with all that love that I wanted to give you anyway. Instead of saying, hey, you're over at my house, you get everything you want just because you're present. Right? When we make that small shift and that change, we go through and we have dogs that start behaving more and more on a better way, not however they please.
I find that fascinating what you just said, only because what we observe in real life at our camp, more often times than not, the dogs that are getting themselves into a little bit of trouble are the ones that are probably being treated more like a grandparent than the parent. I really like that analogy. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So what do you see people looking at when they're looking for a dog trainer, the difference between what's offered out there between like one that's more experienced, one that's just at a Petco, or different places that you find around? How can we look for the right trainer when we see?
Yeah. So it's a great question. It's looking more of it like this. It's kind of like if I were to go through and want to rewire the electrical side of my house, I don't want to necessarily go just to a handyman who I think might be able to do it. I'd rather a master electrician so the house doesn't burn down, right? When you're going to it, it's a lot of the less experienced side with the training, they may have learned how to teach a dog how to sit, how to teach a dog to lay down, how to teach a dog some of these things. But they don't necessarily understand all the behind on the back end of the why does the dog behave this way. So when you understand the why behind it, you can explain that to an individual, then you can see how changing any and every behavior that a dog displays or a human displays, how to be able to make that effective and the time that it takes to be able to go through and do that. Like I can teach a dog how to go through and sit or lay down or play dead or, to come when called or to walk on a loose leash. And it might take me, 10 to 15 minutes when people think that that's going to take forever to do. But the reality is that's the introduction. Just because I introduced a child how to do addition doesn't mean they're good at it. Right. So a lot of that comes in on the back end, when you're changing behaviors, such as saying a dog is aggressive, right? Aggressive is literally an escalation of communication. If I wanted to go through and express my point of view and somebody's not hearing me and I raise my voice, I took an aggressive tone. That's it, right? And dogs are going through and showing the aggression because they felt like their communication fell on deaf ears. So when you understand the why behind it, why is the dog doing this? Oh, well, they're doing it because they tried to tell you before and they didn't get the response they thought they would get. So when you address it earlier and you say, okay, well, now I'm seeing this. I'm seeing the why behind it. Let me show you that, hey, it's not polite to go to the park and punch every kid in the face before you say, now let's play, right? You don't need to do that. It's not appropriate. Let me show you the proper way to do it. Hey, if somebody's calling you names on the other side of the fence, just disengage and walk away. You don't have to accept it in. You don't have to go through and yell back at them. Right? So there's a lot of the whys that play a big role in it. And typically you'll find that experienced trainers understand the psychology and the whys behind it and go through and can relate that so that parents do a better job with that communication.
So much of what I appreciate with what Will does is that, one of the things we see at Camp Bow Wow, for example, and we talk about this all the time, the play yard, what we call our play yard dynamics, are so similar to when we were kids. It's almost the same, actually. I mean, in the play yard, we will have some dogs that follow the camp counselor the whole time. In other words, the teacher's pet. We'll have some dogs that just sit on the corner, kind of the nerds, watching everybody, people watching. We'll have some that are the party animals. They're playing all the time. They're having a good time. So what I really appreciate about what Will talks about is how he ties that into the human behavior and really understanding. You got to understand the depth of the behavior. It's not just a matter of what's happening, but the why it's happening. So I just appreciate hearing this.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How do you come and visit the different camp bows, or do you have a regular routine, or how do the parents get introduced to your services?
Yeah, great question. So oftentimes, if there's a dog that's in need of help, that Camp Bow, a lot of the staff members and stuff may pass them a business card, for them to reach out to me. So that's one of the ways. And then, you'll see a lot of times where people will go through and ask around on social media and say, hey, looking for this, right? Looking for a trainer, looking for help with this, or, hey, heading out of town, where do we go? So, it's kind of, back and forth. I'll go through and I'll recommend Camp Bow Wow because honestly, I've been to a lot of different places that you can board overnight. And one of the things that I hold above reproach, is how well, Jose and his team have gone through and taken care of those facilities to keep it really at a cleanliness standard, right? You can walk into different places and it's like, man, okay, you can smell that dogs have used the bathroom all over the place. It's just, you don't want to go into a house when you're invited to a party and it be dirty. You want it to be clean, right? You want to feel welcomed in it in all aspects. And, when it comes to Camp Bow Wow, I mean, it's kind of, I'm guessing it's probably with his background in the medical world, but yeah, he keeps everything to a clean degree that is unparalleled. And I absolutely love it. So.
Well, I appreciate that, Will. And one of the reasons why I really wanted you to be on this call is so that our parents can put a kind of a face to the name, because whenever we need parents to send their dog to school, so to speak, Will is who they're going to be going to, and we'd like them to know who he is, what the philosophy is behind the training, and for them to know that their dog is going to be in really good hands, and when they get their dog pack, it's going to be a different dog in a very, very good way.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a success story. Do you have anything that you've had in the community that you could share, something that has really affected the community or a dog owner?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of those, to be honest. So, there are times, I've worked with clients and stuff that, to give you a perfect example, one client came to me and she said that, her dog was going through and showing aggression. Okay. And she said that, in the apartment complex, it was pretty much when anyone saw her or her dog, they kind of turned the other way because they knew that through experience, every time they saw this dog was lunging and pulling towards them, and they were in fear that their dog would get attacked or they would. Right. And so going out there and working with the client, kind of teaching them a little bit more on psychology and better understanding the whys. They thought they were going to have to go through and correct the dog, right? And in so correcting the dog, go through and change the personality of the dog. That's what they were afraid of. That's part of the reasons they didn't want to go through training at first, because they didn't want their dog to change who they were in the house. They just wanted to change the dog's behavior outside of the house. So after working with the dog, the dog was just afraid. He was a big scaredy cat. Now, the dog learned to be, you know, through the intimidation factor, through barking and showing aggression, right, that it kept everybody back. It's like, haha, it worked. When I barked, they turned away, which meant I can feel safer. I know that happens all the time, right? So with that, when we go through and we changed it and we showed the dog, hey, you don't need to go through and act that way, the dog completely changed and was able to relax. And then what we did is we introduced dogs that were also fearful and timid, but friendly, with an overriding friendliness right there. Because when two dogs look at each other, just like two kids on the playground, all right, I'm afraid of you. Oh, wait, I'm afraid of you. What do you mean you're afraid of me? Oh, well, if you're afraid of me, then I don't have to worry about you. Oh, hey, can we be friends so now we can have each other's back to watch out for things we should be afraid of? Right? So you're changing the dynamic to be able to allow them to build confidence with a pack. That's the big thing, is a fearful dog does not have confidence within themselves, so they build confidence in a pack or a group. And if they build the confidence with the owner, right, then they're going to hide behind the owner. Okay, and they'll follow the owner, which is fine, but you want a dog to learn not to be afraid of everything. So what we did is we worked on the dog and we built the dog's confidence so he didn't have to feel the fear and didn't need to go through and react, rather than focusing on correcting the behavior. And then it went away.
Amazing. I love the psychology around it. And I love how y'all just work together, because you know it's so effective. Just with everybody in the community, and you just see, oh, if we all just work together, you know, this is why I say you're changing lives in the community.
That's so important, Alecia. I'll go back to that first statement that I made, that, you know, owning a dog is not just a privilege, it's a responsibility. And with that responsibility, besides all the basic stuff we know about, you know, vaccinations and all of that, is proper training, so that the dog can be a good part of our community as well. So I just love what Will and his team do, and I appreciate that they're here in our community with us.
Appreciate that, Jose, and likewise. No, it's important that people can know that there are places to go, you know, where when you don't have to say, hey, I have to cancel my vacation in order to go through and stay with my dogs, right? To understand that there are places, Camp Bow Wow in particular, that you can bring your dog and know that your dog is taken care of, cared for, and safe, just as if it was with a family member. You know, we all need that time, just like every day. When we work throughout the day, we need to be able to rest at night. When we work throughout the year, we need to be able to mentally rest, which sometimes is take away from the environment, go out and explore and vacation. And with that, know that your dogs are safe. So
that's exactly right.
Yep.
Perfect. I love that. So guys, thanks for joining, and I look forward to seeing more success stories from here in the community and how you make a difference with people in the lives of so many. And so I will leave the contact information here with our YouTube videos, so be subscribed to more amazing details like this that make a difference in other people's lives. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Alecia.
Thank you. Y'all have a blessed day. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.